Hi guys, my name is Alyssa and welcome back to my channel. So on Facebook, I told you guys like 2 weeks ago that my next video was going to be a Saturn Return video, and it wasn't because I decided to make other videos, and instead because every time I tried to make Saturn Return video, I rambled on because I'm pregnant and I'm an idiot and I'm giving you too much information that you don't need. So I decided I'm going to run through this. In order to explain what happens during your Saturn return, you kind of do need to get a little bit personal because I am a personal type human. I like to be personal with you guys. During the last couple years, I didn't get super personal. It felt like I did sometimes, but there's so much that I left out. The questions I always get is your Saturn return when your Saturn actually conjuncts your natal Saturn, when the transit Saturn comes and conjuncts your natal Saturn, or is it when Saturn enters the sign that your Saturn's in? Now, different astrologers have told me different things, and when I was about to enter my Saturn return, I said to people, I'm about to enter my Saturn return, because that was when Saturn was going to go into Scorpio, and that was about 2 years ago. People were like, no, you won't hit your Saturn return until November 2014. And then you're going to hit it again in July 2015. And these things are true. That is when Saturn would be conjuncting my Saturn. It only would be a couple weeks, and that would be it. Now, that's not true. And I'm just going to say that because maybe people who told me don't remember what it was like to go through their Saturn return. But the moment I knew I was in my Saturn return was a moment not when Saturn was necessarily in Scorpio, because when it entered Scorpio, it was still in my 7th house where it had been while it was in Libra. It entered Scorpio, and then it entered my 8th house. And my Saturn is in Scorpio in the 8th house. And as soon as it entered the 8th house, holy shit, did I feel bogged down by the weight of the world. That was around December of 2012 that Saturn entered my 8th house. I just remember it was awful. You can actually watch a video that I did right after that. It's the What I Love About Cancers video, and my face is gray. Like I got hit with a ton of bricks. I felt like I couldn't move and I was just hopeless, and I was pregnant, and it sucked because it also affected my husband, so he was hopeless, and we were just shit. Like, this sucks. We got ourselves out of that, right? And I actually vlogged a lot during this time, and just about random happenings, and I feel like I could tell, and I could look and be like, man, I was really depressed. I don't know if you guys could all tell too, but it was like I went from this spunky fucking what I hate about your sign person, and I did the ascendants, and then I did the moon signs when Saturn entered Scorpio. And then all of a sudden, I'm trying to do these What I Love About You signs and some vlogs, and I can't even breathe, really. I was having the hardest time breathing, and it was one because I was pregnant, but even still, I'm better at breathing now, and I'm pregnant. I was just so tired, and I worked 3 jobs, basically. I got up at like 6 o'clock every morning to go to work at 7. I did office work for 2 hours, and then I waited tables, sometimes just during the day, but sometimes I would work a double, or I'd come back at night, and I would try to do YouTube videos, once or twice to 3 times a week. I had been doing them 3 times a week. I couldn't keep that up. I was just fucking tired, under pressure, feeling like the weight of the world, like they can't even see straight. And that is a big part of the Saturn return. You can't see much that's in front of your face. You know there's something out there. Most people don't feel so hopeless they can't go on, but you get pretty freaking close. Unless you have a feeling inside of you that what you're doing and what's happening is all to empower you, and basically that's pretty much everyone who knows they're going through their Saturn return, you get so hopeless and depressed you just can't see an end. And then on top of that, I had this manager at work who really didn't like me, and we've gotten into it a few times. We got into a big fight over the amount of work she was putting on me when I was so tired, and I just said I needed to go. And I got super angry. Saturn was retrograde, and I got fired. And I all of a sudden just had no income. But it ended up being perfect. The universe works in mysterious ways. Your Saturn return, everything's for a reason. The 8th house is about transformation, and Saturn is about karma, and what are you doing with your life? And it was kind of like my life was just saying, hey, you're on the wrong path. Get yourself up and figure this out again. And I got to rest for the first time in forever. And during that, I was making like my Venus videos and my Mars videos, I think, and my numerology videos. And I just started feeling better. And I went from just, you can tell I'm like disgusting. I'm like breaking out, like I can't breathe. And I started to feel better and get better. Right before my baby was born, I got another blow. At that point, Saturn went back over my Pluto, which is in my 7th house. So it was during my Saturn return, but it wasn't like conjuncting my Saturn. I was 8 months pregnant. I got a huge issue from outside, and it was horrible, and fucking dealt with it. And that's what you do. And that's when you're in your Saturn return, something bad is gonna happen. Something shitty that you're just like, ugh. Maybe it's something you haven't dealt with for years. Maybe it's just out of the blue. And so all of a sudden, I needed a lot of money. And this isn't because we owed anybody money, but I needed to protect myself. And I will say, what I got from my Saturn return is that every single person needs to know a lawyer, because sometimes some crazy person out of nowhere is just going to attack you, and you need to know you're right. But I had to pay for this lawyer. So all of a sudden, I'm 8 months pregnant, I don't have a job, and we need money. I decided to start utilizing my astrology gifts. And not everybody was happy that I was starting to charge for readings, because at first I gave them away for free, which I stopped way before I started charging people, because that was exhausting. You give chart readings for free for a little while, you're like, oh, this is fun. And then after a while, you're like, holy shit, people are demanding free chart readings. What? Anyway, I got the money. I made it. I didn't do a go fund yourself, because I don't, when your Saturn's in the 8th house, especially like mine, there's a lot of things you need to learn. And one of them that I did was that I have to take on everything on my own. Because that's my purpose here, is not to take from other people. It's to give to other people and to work and get paid for an honest work. It worked out, and I felt better about it. And I started realizing that I actually had a career here. It wasn't just YouTube videos. So then my son was born, and Saturn was straight by the time my son was born. So it started going back through Scorpio, hit my 8th house. Again, shit hit the fan, but it was hard. It was hard having a baby, trying to figure out how to keep making money doing readings when I had a baby and I had no time, and I didn't have any friends anymore because I'm from Chicago and all my friends here were young and servers. At the same time, I was still able to do things even with not having a babysitter, even with that, because I had learned my own strength, and I no longer was gray. I no longer was tired of my life. I knew that there was something good. I just was going through it. Everybody says that their baby's a handful because babies are handfuls, and then I would meet other babies and I'd realize that my baby was more of a handful. And I think anybody who has like a super fire baby like me, because Remy is a Leo sun, Leo moon, Aries rising, he's a ball of energy and fire, and no other kid I've met is like him, but I know that there are some out there. So I think that other mothers would resonate with me here, that not only did I have a baby, I had a handful of a baby, and I didn't have any help. My husband works a lot, and so I was just kind of like, but things started getting better and better and better. And then another blow to me. Someone tried to ruin my reputation by spreading lies about me, and I had to just figure out what to do about that. And I realized the best thing to do was wait for it to go away. Because people are going to do that. It's 8th house stuff. If somebody sues you, it can be 7th or 8th house stuff. Someone talks about you behind your back or in front of your back or publicly tries to humiliate you or defame you. That's 8th house stuff. This is what my Saturn is, where all of a sudden you have to make money. But I need to make money doing what I love, because Saturn's opposite my moon in the 2nd house. And if I'm not making money doing what I'm love, I can't support the shit that's going to hit the fan. And I had to learn that, because I apparently didn't learn it the years before. Now I know, and I really was able to accomplish it, and I have my own business, my own job, and I'm going to launch a website, and my mother lives here so she can babysit, and things got shitty, but only so that they could get better. And that is what your Saturn return is all about. Wherever your Saturn is, my friend's going through her Saturn return. She has her Saturn in Sagittarius in the 5th house, and she has a child, and she's a working mother, and she works a lot. I have another friend, 2 friends actually, their Saturn's in the 7th house, and they're trying to deal with their relationships right now during their Saturn return, and their relationships are going crazy, and they're trying to figure out how to balance their life. What your Saturn return wants is for you to figure it out, is to work through this, is to not demand that anybody else give you anything for this, is to not play a victim, is to be strong, is to take this shit and be like, you know what, no, I do suck at this. Yes, it's an outside force coming at me, but I do suck at this. I suck at this. You know, no one wants to be pregnant and fired. That sucked. That was awful, and I tried to fight it, and then I realized I was too tired and I just wanted to sleep, and thank God for that, because fighting a stupid restaurant over firing a pregnant woman is just like not even worth it, because restaurants suck, and they just do suck, and that's their thing. And you have to choose your battles, because you're gonna be tired. What is important to you? What is not? What are you going through? What is this affecting? Look at your Saturn. See what it's aspecting. Is it aspecting your sun? Is it going to affect your ego? Is it going to affect your Mercury, so your mind, or relationships, or what is happening to your Saturn normally? How is this affecting you normally? And then just imagine that when Saturn gets close, it's all of a sudden saying, hey, your Saturn has a shit ton of power right now. And that means everything you've had to deal with your whole life is going to come back full force. And that's what it does. I'm very, very happy it happened, because seriously, my life is transformed. And it wasn't easy. And I can look back, and if I think about it too hard, I get sad, because shit was hard. But it's not as hard anymore. It's not, because I did something about it. I was able to weed out the shitty people from my life. I was able to find power in myself and my husband and my child and my family. I got set on a right path, the correct path, and I feel good. And I've never been happy in my whole life, because I've always been avoiding these Saturn things, but I didn't avoid it this time. And I will let you know that that week that Saturn conjunct my Saturn last November, I could tell it was my Saturn return. Like, it felt stronger. But at that point, I was so like, oh yeah, bring it on, bitches. Like, whatever. Me and my husband kind of looked at each other when something happened, and we just laughed. We were like, this is for serious right now? This is so stupid. We've dealt with this. Like, this is nothing to us. When Saturn comes back in the summer, I'm kind of like, well, this makes sense. My baby, my second child's going to be born. I'm just now launching a new website. I'm going to have a lot of services. There's going to be a lot of stuff that I'm going to have to do. And I see it. And I'm preparing now. And I'm kind of like, well, you know, bring it on. So I'm going to let you know, it's going to start out wearing you out, and you're gonna be like, why me? I'm already tired. You've been tired for a little while. It's gonna get worse. Make sure you sleep, make sure you rest, make sure you realize that everything that's happening is so you can find this inside of you that lets you out of this Saturn shit. Not everybody else. Other people aren't gonna help you, and that's the point. All in all, it's your truth that matters the most, and you're gonna live your life that way, and do not avoid it. And that is your Saturn return. Goodbye.